Winning doesn't have to be complicated. You can simplify the game plan and still win the game. We'll do just that coming up on Friday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for October 31st, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thanks so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Definitely appreciate you if you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page. You know we appreciate both. Show grows each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can find me on Twitter as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, you know we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you, 707-654-4693. We'll get back to your calls and texts as we close out the show. We had none on Thursday. We had the crossover edition, so we talked all things Jaguars and Raiders. Tony Amp Wiggins, host of Locked On Jags, myself and him talked all things storylines, matchups, and paths to victory. So we'll get back to your calls, your texts, all your feedback. We'll do that. Segment number 3 as we close out the show and close out the week. Segment number 2, keys to victory. I do that every single show before the actual game. So if it's a Sunday game, it's on Friday. A Monday game, it's on Monday. A Thursday game, it's on Thursday, right? I mean, it's just whatever the last show is before the game, we give you the keys to victory. So I'll do that in a simplified format. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It doesn't have to be overthought. We'll do that in segment number 2. I'll let you know what I mean by that coming up. Segment number 1 here, news and notes of the day, as I always do. We'll jump into that after I tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Mazda. Like the players, Mazda sweats every detail. When you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So off top, didn't get to Wednesday's injury report because we did have the crossover edition. So I'll give you the injury report for Wednesday and Thursday. I'll hustle through that really quickly. Brock Bowers, knee, full participant on Wednesday and Thursday. Knock on wood, like Chip Kelly did on Thursday when we had an opportunity to talk to him at the practice facility. All will go good throughout today, Saturday, and obviously Sunday leading up to kickoff. Brock Bowers will be back out there. That's a great thing. Adam Butler, Max Crosby, both dealing with back issues, did not participate on Wednesday. Both were limited on Thursday. Pete Carroll had told us on Wednesday that he expected them to practice fully on Friday. So cross your fingers that both those guys are out there and they practice today, and we'll see if they're able to go. I have a gut feeling that they're going to play, but until, you see a full participation, or at least you see them not on the, the inactive list that we get on Sunday, there's a chance that they could go, and there's a chance that they might miss, right? Adam Butler missed that Kansas City game having back spasms right before kickoff, so he was ruled out. But I mean, my gut feeling tells me that they're going to go, but again, you got to wait until we see what happens coming up on Sunday. Lonnie Johnson, the safety, dealing with the fibula. Remember the broken leg that he had in the scrimmage game? He was he was a limited participant on Wednesday and Thursday. Pete Carroll told us on Wednesday that he doesn't really expect him to go this week. More than likely, he'll go next week, which is the short week going up against the Denver Broncos in Week 10. Jacoby Myers, knee injury and missed on the game against the Chiefs in Week 7. Full participant on Wednesday and Thursday. Obviously, Jacoby Myers, got to pay attention to him for multiple reasons. Aiden O'Connell, the right wrist, full participant on Wednesday and Thursday. Don't think that he'll be active this game. Think he won't be active and back on the roster until probably next week against Denver as well, but at least he's out there participating right now. That 21-day window has been open. And then Isaiah Polamau, ankle and knee injury, full participant on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, so that's definitely something to pay attention to. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, tight end Quentin Morris, groin injury, limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. Linebacker Devin Lloyd, calf injury, limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. Don't think he'll be playing. Wide receiver Diami Brown, shoulder injury, limited on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday. Safety Eric Murray, neck injury, DNP on Wednesday, DNP on Thursday. Wide receiver Tim Patrick, groin injury, limited both Wednesday and Thursday. Wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., shoulder, limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. Then Dennis Gardeck, the linebacker, chest injury, limited on Wednesday and Thursday. Jordan Lewis, the cornerback, neck injury, limited both Wednesday and Thursday. And then wide receiver and defensive back Travis Hunter, knee injury, not listed on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. So that's obviously a big one to pay attention to for the Silver and Black. Is the two-way guy, Travis Hunter, going to be able to go on Sunday. I hope he goes. I want to see him out there up close and personal. We'll love to see him play in person, but obviously if he's injured, he won't be able to go. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. We'll get another injury report later on this afternoon, and then 90 minutes before kickoff, we'll find out who is inactive. But I said Brock Bowers is going to be coming back as long as he makes it through today and the rest of the weekend. Myself and Vinny Bonsignor caught up with him in the Raiders locker room on Wednesday. Here's what the tight end, who's missed 3 games, had to say.
So Pete said that he looked pretty good out there the last couple of days that you saw him. How good does it feel to kind of be close to being Brock Bowers?
No, yeah, it feels way good. Super good to be back out there and running around and just playing ball. It's good.
How do you feel as far as just where you were and where you are right now?
Oh, way better. Just the first part of the season was a little tough, just getting a little banged up and not feeling 100%. But I'm closer now and I'm ready to roll. Hopefully.
You dealt with an injury in college, so this isn't the first rodeo going down that road for you. How beneficial is that to have gone through something along those lines?
Yeah, no, it definitely helps kind of going through something like that. It's never fun. It's never something you want to do. I think college was a little bit different because, you could kind of push through it a little bit, and then this one was kind of like pull it back a little bit. So it was a little bit different, but definitely a little helpful to go through that before.
How much was this bye week needed for you guys to kind of hit the reset button, self-scout, and then get back to it?
Yeah, the bye week was super helpful. I think some guys got out of here and kind of mentally reset and really just dialing in for the back half of the season.
What was your routine kind of that you did during the bye week?
I was here most of the week and then took 2 days, went to the beach for a day.
Nice.
So, yeah.
You guys, that first game that you guys played together, the offense, especially the passing game, was clicking. How important is that to be able to draw back on that, but also the curiosity of what this offense looks like when it is healthy?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see. Excited to see the run game with Ashton and Raheem and everyone, and then also the pass game with Gino slinging around to everyone that's back. So it'll be fun.
You mentioned getting the run game going with Ashton Genty. How important is that going to be for this offense to be able to click, to commit to that running game?
Yeah, no, you need to run the ball before you throw the ball, and really keep the defense on their toes because two pieces of offense you got to put together.
Getting Brock Bowers back in this Raiders offense is obviously going to be a big deal. They've missed him for 3 games, and you've seen the offense continue to go down, not be very creative, not be very effective. They averaged 18 points per game that they were scoring last season. They're at 14 points per game this season. So they've gotten worse, even though they have Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator. So a lot of eyes are going to be on him to make sure he can get this thing figured out. They shouldn't have any more excuses. They have a healthy Jacoby Myers. They have a healthy Brock Bowers. They have a running back. They have multiple running backs. Right? You have your guys. You shouldn't be able to make excuses of why you can't get this offense to be a lot better than what we've seen. So a lot of attention will be on Chip Kelly. A lot of attention will be on this Raiders offense. But we'll talk about that coming up in segment number 2. Also, I wanted to pass along this sound from Adam Schefter on Jacoby Myers and Max Crosby. Obviously, the trade deadline is coming up November 4th. That's on Tuesday. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 Pacific Time. All trades must be into the league office. He was a guest on Adam Schein's show on Sirius XM Radio and was asked about Jacoby Myers and Max Crosby and the chances of them being traded. And here's Adam Schefter talking about Jacoby Myers first and then Max Crosby.
Possibly. Again, I don't think the Raiders, to me, and again, we'll see how the week plays out. The place, if you're talking wide receivers, the place to watch would be New Orleans. Because there's Rashid Shaheed, there's Chris Olave, there's Brandon Cooks. I don't know that we're going to get a receiver that's any more well-known traded than Rashid Shaheed or Jacoby Myers. Like those 2 guys, and they're different kind of players, those would be the biggest name wide receivers I see being dealt. So, for everybody waiting for A.J. Brown to be traded, I just don't think that's going to happen.
Max Crosby, any shot he gets traded by Tuesday?
I go back to the text or the email that Mark Davis sent me last year, all capital letters. We are not trading Max Crosby. I have not heard anything different off that message in the last year from what Mark Davis emailed me a year ago. So I will continue to stand by that. People could ask, again, it's one of these buzzy, sexy topics right before the trade deadline. It warrants conversation, just like A.J. Brown. We could talk about A.J. Brown. We could talk about Max Crosby. Let me know when one of these guys is being traded before Tuesday's trade deadline.
So it feels very much like Jacoby could get traded, but as you heard Schefter right there, pay attention to the Saints first because they have multiple wide receivers that may be, more in other teams' price range. It sounds like the Raiders are trying to hold out hope that they get a really good draft capital in return to move on from Jacoby because they know that he can help them win. So I don't think that they want to move on from him. But if a team comes with a really good offer, I can see them making that move. Another scenario that you need to think about when it comes to Jacoby Myers being traded, and I do not want him to be traded. I want to make sure that I say that multiple times. I think that he's a huge asset for this team. The problem is I don't see him long-term with this team. It doesn't feel like that they're going to, renegotiate and give him a contract extension after the season. So more than likely he's going to walk in free agency, and that's where the problem is. The Raiders have a lot of money in salary cap space for 2026. They're going to spend a lot of money. So if he walks in free agency, you would say, oh, well, they'll get a comp pick. Not necessarily, because the math problem, if they end up spending more money on free agents, bring in more than they lose, the math problem won't math in their favor and they won't get anything. So there could be a scenario where the Raiders say, well, you know what? We don't want to lose him for nothing, so we'll go ahead and take that 4th-round pick or that 5th-round pick. So that's obviously a scenario to pay attention to. He looks like he's going to be a go for this Sunday. Obviously, if he's inactive or a healthy scratch, then we all know what time it is. But hopefully Jacoby's out there on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. As far as I'm concerned, they're going to need him. They're going to need Brock. They're going to need Big Mike. They're going to need Dante Thornton. They're going to need Trey Tucker. They're going to need Jack Besh. They're going to need everyone that they have available to go and get a W, something that they desperately need as they come into this game 2-5. But what is going to be the keys to victory? How can it be simplified? We'll talk about that in segment number 2, today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple of the great sponsors we have on the show, including Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep the game moving forward. Obviously, the Raiders didn't play last week. They were on a bye, so I can only imagine what player can help move the game forward. And a lot of times I'll talk about Ashton Genty, talk about Geno Smith. I'm going to talk about Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker has been so far the best wide receiver for the Raiders. Obviously, him and Geno have a really good, comfortable relationship going on. And the way that you can use him so many different ways, Chip Kelly, I'm looking at you, could use him in so many different ways with his speed. Now, he's not just a guy that runs deep routes. He's a guy that could do end arounds. He's a guy that could do wide receiver screens. He's a guy that's been catching passes over the middle of the field. Just because his speed intimidates some defensive backs at times, he finds pockets and holes in defenses that, opens up, and he's able to come up with some big plays. That's how the Raiders can move the game forward and also move the chains, which is something that they need to do. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. I also want to tell you about our good friends at FanDuel. You know the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps getting every game exciting and more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And there's been a lot of really good games and a lot of really good performances so far in this young NBA season. Something I said I wasn't going to be locked in till Christmas. Yeah, I lied. I'm already locked in, and it's only Halloween. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to give you keys to victory, and they don't have to be overcomplicated, right? They don't. I don't have to give you offense, defense, special teams, coaching, right? This player's got to do this, that, and I can do that, right? We've done that. But sometimes you just got to use the KISS method, right? What they say, keep it simple, stupid. Sometimes it's okay to keep it simple and still be effective, right? And so far through 7 games, this Chip Kelly-led offense and this Patrick Graham-led defense hasn't been simplified and effective, right? There's been moments where I think both units have been really good, but it just hasn't been consistent. And really, I want to start off with the offense, because the offense is what I really had high expectations for. I thought the offense was going to be the strength of the team. And so far through 7 games, this offense has not looked like it's been ran by a guy that's the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league. And I know Brock Bowers was out. I get that. Jacoby Myers was out last week or the week before against Kansas City. I get that. Colton Miller's out. Yeah, I know. Teams deal with injuries. You overcome that, right? Shout out to my Spanish teacher, Mr. Cepeda. He said, adapt, improvise, and overcome. And he said it in the coolest, smoothest voice, right? But that's what you got to do. And when you're the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league, you got to figure it out, right? I mean, look, Brock's not the only weapon. Jacoby's not the only weapon. Ashton is there. You drafted him very high. Use him. You could use him in multiple different ways. You have Trey Tucker, who's playing really well. You have Big Mike that for some reason just can't get going. And I know you got a couple young wide receivers in Thornton and Besh, but you can find ways to get them involved as well. We see teams around the league that don't have as many weapons as they'd like to have, but they still find ways to put together a good offense, at least a creative offense. And we haven't seen an offense that looks creative from the Raiders, and that surprises me based off what Chip Kelly is known for, being a sharp offensive mind. But the thing about it is, I think that he can get creative. He can use that sharp offensive mind if he has a commitment to the run game. The run game is something that Pete Carroll talks about all the time. How many press conferences have you heard Pete Carroll say, we've got to run the ball better. We've got to run the ball better. We've got to run the ball more effectively. And I know right now you're going to say, yeah, Q, but the offensive line. Look, the offensive line is blocking good enough. There's only a handful of teams across the league where their offensive line is super solid. Doesn't mean that teams stop running the ball. And I know Ashton Genty's carried the ball over 100 times this season. I get it. But it's not consistent carries. It's not feeding them, getting him lathered up, and getting defenses worn out, right? It's carries here. All right, stop. Carries here. All right, stop. All right, carries here. It's just nothing consistent. You can have numbers but not be consistent, and then that's not giving the defense. You're not telling the defense that, oh, this is what we are. This is who our identity is. We're going to commit to the run game. They're not doing that, and that's something that they need to do. As a matter of fact, on Thursday, we got a chance to catch up with Chip Kelly and Patrick Graham, and I asked Chip Kelly about the importance of getting in that run game going consistently.
Pete always talks about the run game and having an emphasis on it. How important is it to really get that going to be able to open up this offense?
I think it's always important to get anything. I think you can't play one-sided. You can't be one-dimensional when you play football. You can't throw it every down. You can't run it every down. You have to be able, if you do it, defenses are too good. If they know this is all this team is going to do is chuck it, well then, the schemes that these people will bring from a pass rush standpoint and a coverage standpoint will be very complicated. So you got to be able to not let them hone in and say this is all they do on this down. So you want to be balanced. If you're balanced, that's a good thing. If you're running the ball more, it probably means you're winning because that means you're in a 4-minute offense, and you're going to run the ball more in a 4-minute offense than you do in a 2-minute offense. So, if you're ahead at the end of the game, you're going to get more rushes. If you're behind at the end of the game, you're going to get more throws. So you always want to be on the side of more rushes because that means you're probably in a 4-minute mode and you're trying to run the clock out.
So he's talking about, it's situational, right? Well, you can run the ball if you have the lead, right? You're in your 4-minute offense. Look, you can run the ball if you get the ball first. You're not losing if you get the ball first. They weren't losing in Kansas City when they got the ball in the opening possession and they didn't have Jacoby Myers and they didn't have Brock Bowers. They weren't losing at that time. It was tied up at 0. They gave the ball to Ashton Genty one time. He got 4 yards on first down. Second down, they threw a wide receiver screen and they lost 4 yards. So now, instead of being in a good position, they're at 3rd and 10 again. Like they didn't do anything, right? Instead of giving the ball to Genty again. All right, maybe he picks up 2. Maybe he picks up 3. All right, now you're in 3rd and short. Now your whole playbook's open. And then you can extend the drive, right? Instead, it was, all right, Genty once, pass, punt. All right, pass, punt. All right, but you know what I mean? That's how you end up with 30 snaps offensively. You have to commit to the run. The run is like the tree, right? And then off the tree, which is the running game, you can do everything else. The branches are everything else. Play action pass, getting Brock involved, getting Jacoby involved now that they're back healthy, right? You heard Brock in segment number 1 in the interview that me and Vinny did. He said you got to be able to run the ball. You got to run before you could pass, right? And I don't care. Maybe you have to start the game throwing the ball to loosen everything up, and then I don't know. But you have to have a commitment. Teams have to know this team is going to run the ball. This is what they want to do. This is their bread and butter. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run it effectively, and we're going to have to find a way to stop it. Make them make a decision. So I don't think that you have to have an overcomplicated offense. I don't think you have to get, super creative and, well, they think we're going to run the ball, so we're going to do this. No, you don't have to do that. You can run the ball effectively, let them know that you're going to run the ball, and then build off of that. And then you could take some deep shots. Then you can have Trey Tucker, get involved. And it doesn't have to be just here you go, line up in I formation or have Geno in the shotgun or have Geno in pistol and then hand it to him and do a zone read. You don't have to do that, right? You can do all kind of creative things. There could be option route. Boom. Pitch it to Genty or pitch it to Mostert or whatever the case may be. There's so many different ways to run the ball effectively. You just have to commit to doing it, saying we're going to do this. Like 50 Cent said, get rich or die trying. You're going to run the ball or you're dying trying, right? It's just that simple. But they haven't had through 7 games a true commitment to running the ball yet. That's got to be the base. Like I said, keep it simple, stupid, right? Have the base, commitment to the run game. Everything else can build off that. Defensively, Patrick Graham, I asked him about self-scouting. That's what the bye week is for, right? What did he learn? What did he think when he went back and reviewed the film, looked at what he was doing as a DC and what his unit was doing as a defense? This was a great answer from Patrick Graham.
When you had the opportunity in the bye week to do self-evaluation and look at your defense as a unit, what was your, I guess, biggest takeaway?
Biggest takeaway was, trying to minimize the third and shorts. So, again, this league, and just throughout my career, we spend so much time on third down. We spend so much time in the red area, which is warranted. But it's the first and second down plays, Like you think about some of the drives we've given up, sometimes they didn't even get to third down, or they got to 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3. That's not even really third down right there. I don't know what they're going to do there. They can run, especially nowadays. They can run. The quarterback can run. They could go for it on 4th down with all the analytics. So my job, the self-evaluation, is I got to put these guys in a better spot on 2nd down. 1st down, pretty solid. 2nd down, got to do a better job on 2nd down and try to create some longer 3rd down situations. So that falls on me.
2nd down is the key. You heard PG. Sometimes they do really well on 1st down. And then 2nd down, teams are able to pick up a nice chunk of yards. Then 3rd's easy. And sometimes 4th is easy, right? Because of where they're in and what position they're in. We always talk about, get off the field on 3rd down, get off the field on 3rd down. Well, let's focus in. That's what my challenge is for you this game on Sunday against Jacksonville. Let's focus in on what the Raiders do on 2nd down. Focus in on what they do there. Can they have a negative play, for the offense, obviously? Can they create a negative play? Can they create a minimal play? Can they not let Jacksonville get loose? Look, Jacksonville is going to want to try to run the ball. They haven't ran the ball effectively in 2 games. When they were winning early in the season, they were like a top 5 rushing unit. They're going to want to run the ball. I know for a fact that this defense is built to stop the run. I know E-Rob, Jamal Adams, Devin White, right? Adam Butler, all these guys up front, they can get downhill and stop the run. And then when they do and get them in 3rd and long situation, then Max Crosby can pin his ears back and try to get to the quarterback. Then you can send Jamal Adams on a blitz to get after Trevor Lawrence, who, by the way, will make a mistake. Trevor Lawrence will make a mistake, right? And he's one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the league. And by the way, he's part of the $50 million club. So let him make that mistake. But if you put him in 3rd and short consistently, he's not going to make that mistake. You got to put him in a situation where he's got to push the ball down the field and open himself up. Hold the ball a couple seconds longer and let guys like Max Crosby get there. Again, keep it simple. Stupid. 2nd down. Have effective defensive plays on 2nd down. Whether that's stopping the run, because they're going to, I feel really strongly that they're going to try to run the ball effectively and take the air out of the game. I think that that's what they're going to plan on doing. The Raiders can't allow them to do that. And again, I think that approach really plays into the hands of the Raiders defense, because that's what they do really well. And then a guy like Jonah Laulu, Max, and others can get after the quarterback. Ideally, that's how it happens. So I'm not going to get into great details on everything that they got to do and every player that's got to step up. Just have a commitment to running the ball offensively. You could build off that. And defensively, dominate on 2nd down. Be effective defensively on 2nd down. Put the Jacksonville Jaguars in a bad position on 3rd down. Create 3rd and longs. Obviously, get off the field when you do just that. So what's on your mind? Your calls and texts will close out the show. 707-654-4693. We'll hear from you next. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about another one of the great sponsors we have on the show, and that is Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses does not solve anything. We've all heard them before, right? It's stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Wow, chicka, wow, wow. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. And if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and most importantly, private. And it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Again, Bow, chicka, wow, wow. Visit Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL to get 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL. Don't forget to use the code LockedOnNFL so they know that I sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast will close out the week and the segment in the show hearing from you. 707-654-4693. Start things off with a text from Big Dave in South Dakota. Q, Big Dave from South Dakota. I know this is way, way too early, but on Tuesday's show, you hinted at someone you think should be a pickup for a quarterback in a later round. Now, I'm not sure who you're referring to, but my later round pick quarterback should be Dylan Raiola out of Nebraska. I believe he's NFL ready, but consider season and learn. Go Raiders. Thank you, Q, and thank you, Ari. That's from Big Dave in South Dakota. Yeah, you're talking about the Nebraska product that emulates Patrick Mahomes. That's not the guy I was thinking about. He could be a potential good quarterback. You know, he's a guy that I've definitely seen. I pay attention to what Matt Rule and Nebraska do. I'm a big Matt Rule guy. Shout out to him. Matter of fact, got a contract extension for a couple more years, and his buyout's now $15 million, which isn't really a lot in this day and age. But still, yeah, pay attention to Nebraska for sure. Dylan could be a guy. I'll have to lock in and focus in on him a little bit more. He's not the guy that I was thinking about that you can get in a later round. I'm actually going to talk about him on the squad show today. We were supposed to do it on Thursday, but it got pushed back a day. So I'll talk about it on the squad show with Chantel Chan and Lincoln Kennedy later on this morning. But thanks so much for the text. I appreciate you. Got a call from Sacktown Mark. He's calling to talk about the Raiders and how they compare to the Broncos when Sean Payton first arrived. Here's Sacktown Mark.
Hi, Q. This is Sacktown Mark. Just wanted to call and provide kind of a parallel example to, I think, what the Raiders are experiencing right now with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith and the heightened expectations that they've fallen short of this season. And the comparison that I wanted to draw was with the Broncos when Sean Payton first took over the team and when they traded for Russell Wilson. And in that season, everybody was hyped off the Broncos because it was like, man, they got a coach. They've needed a really strong coach for a while. And man, that coach has won Super Bowls and there was a lot of high expectations. And then with Russell Wilson, same thing. Is like they were in quarterback purgatory for years. And, much to the joy of Raider Nation, we loved beating up on them when they had no quarterback and they had to rely on Trevor Siemian. I almost said Marcus Siemian. Trevor Siemian and Brock Osweiler and all those guys. And then they got Russell Wilson. It's like, oh, man, okay, here we go. The Broncos are going to be great. They're going to go to the playoffs. They're Super Bowl contenders. They have a good defense, blah, blah, blah. And then they fell flat on their face. They won 5 games? And everybody, and I bet you anything that the Broncos fans felt exactly like how we do right now. And they're just like, man, fire this dude. Sean Payton sucks, like all that stuff. They probably were saying the same thing about him that we're saying about Pete Carroll. And now look at them 3 years later, I think, right? It's about 3 years later. And they're decent. They're pretty good. They got a quarterback. They drafted a guy. And, they got Bo Nix. They have a better defense. And even though there's injuries and stuff, but they're a competitive team. They're a competitive football team, and they're in it now. And I just think now we're kind of following the same pattern with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Like, Geno Smith is probably not going to work out. Like, I hope he does, but it's probably not if we're going to be following the same blueprint as Denver. We're going to have to pick up a dude in the draft, and that's really what it comes down to. And if that guy can come in and produce well, we'll be good. And let's just hope that they choose the right guy or choose the guy that fits the system the best, and we'll keep it moving. But that's all I wanted to say, Q. I know this went a little long. Apologies for that, but thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Ari, and go Raiders.
Sacktown, thanks for the call. Appreciate you. Funny you mentioned Sean Payton. That's exactly who I looked at when I talked about my expectations of year one with Pete Carroll. Right? And I mentioned it. I said Sean Payton won 8 games his first year in Denver. They missed the playoffs, but then they made the playoffs in year 2, and they currently lead the AFC West. That was the exact blueprint that I was laying out for Pete Carroll. Now, they're not on a path to win 8 games right now, unless they do a hell of a job in the second half of the season, winning 6 out of 10 games. Now, I'm not saying they can't, but it doesn't feel like that they're on that path. I'm now looking at them maybe winning 6 and thinking that that's really good. And that's winning 4 out of 10 games. We had a call before talking about going 500 the West. All right, 5 wins. I do still think that that's a really good season, and that would kind of put them on that trajectory of Sean Payton. But that's what he did year 1 in Denver, was won 8 games, and then they made the playoffs in year 2. But he did get his quarterback, right? He got rid of Russell Wilson after year 1, got his quarterback in year 2 in Bo Nix. Thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. I got a text from Nick from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Hey, Q, it's Nick from La Crosse, Wisconsin. First time texting in. Figured I'd give my thoughts on Pete Carroll talk. I hope to see him coach for the next couple years. We need to build something, and you can't build a winning culture if your team has a new leader every other year. I think a big part of the problem is Raider Nation is so hungry for a winning season that if we don't get one right away, we need to change something. Everybody's impatient. We have to remember that Rome wasn't built in a day. Sorry for the long text. Appreciate what you do and listen to the show every day. That's from our guy Nick from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Thanks so much for the text. And, yeah, that's the harsh reality of it. The Raiders have had so much change that you can never, ever be, in the right position. You can never, ever have the players that fit what you're trying to do. I mean, think about this. There's still John Gruden players. There's still Josh McDaniels players. There's still Antonio Pierce players. And obviously there's Pete Carroll players all on this team right now, currently, in that locker room. And they all don't fit with what Pete Carroll wants to do, right? It's the harsh reality. So if all of a sudden you make another change and bring in another head coach next year, now all of a sudden you got to bring in their guys. And so it just keeps happening. I know Raider Nation is not going to want to hear it, but you have to ride it out with this coach for at least a couple years. You're going to have to ride it out. He's got a 4-year deal. Obviously, it was a 3-year deal with the 4th year for the team option. You're going to have to ride this bad boy out for a couple years unless he decides that, hey, this is too much for me. I'm going to walk away, right? And then you're in – that's another situation to worry about. But until that happens, you got to ride it out with Pete Carroll. Not to mention, he's got the track record. He's got the resume that everybody was all on board with throughout the course of the offseason. But now adversity hits. It's like, oh, get rid of him. He's too old. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's got the track record. He knows what he's doing. He's got to get this thing figured out, and they've all got to be on the same page. That's the biggest question that I have. Is everyone in lockstep and on the same page? From what it looks like through 7 games, the answer is no. But we'll see what happens. They got 10 games left to go in the regular season. Up next, got a call from Raider 783 in Fresno. He's calling to talk about the signing of wide receiver Tyler Lockett. Here he is, Raider 783 in Fresno, Cali.
Hey, Q, Raider 783 in Fresno. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents worth about Tyler Lockett. I had read one of the writers that covers the Raiders, and he kind of trashed the move to sign him, and I don't normally have any disagreement with this writer, but I disagree on this point. In the preseason, I was not necessarily for signing Tyler Lockett because I figured Trey Tucker kind of has a similar skill set, and we were kind of set. But now that we're looking at possibly trading Jacoby Myers, and he's got familiarity with Geno, I figured check some boxes, and also he didn't cost any draft capital for next year's draft, and I think that's also important. So there's really not a worst-case scenario with him. So my hope would be with being a veteran and being a familiar face to Geno, that it might help him get his groove back, because I think Geno's already struggling with the pass rush. He's struggling with his confidence. I don't think having him struggle with multiple rookie receivers is really going to help him get back into form. So maybe at least in some small way, this might give him some aid. So anyway, like I said, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for the show and all the good people you bring to it. Out.
Raider 783, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. And yeah, the move makes sense for every reason that you mentioned, right? Especially, and more importantly, probably providing comfort and confidence for Geno Smith. He knows, has a great relationship with. Geno Smith said the other day that their wives are best friends. They've got a real bond. I mean, that if anything, that signing is to help settle Geno down. And I hate that you have to make a signing like that to help settle him down. But at this stage of the game, I don't think they're sitting him down anytime soon. So they might as well settle him down as opposed to just let him go through this helter-skelter play that he's been playing the first half of the season. So it just kind of feels like that's really the causing force behind the pickup of Tyler Lockett. Now, obviously, if something happens with Jacoby Myers before the trade deadlines, that's another conversation. But as of right now, that to me is the biggest reason for Tyler Lockett, is to calm down Geno Smith and have a target that he's very comfortable with and on the same page, regardless if he knows the playbook or not, because he doesn't. He hasn't been in Chip Kelly's system. He's been with Pete Carroll for a long time, but he hasn't been with Chip Kelly. So he doesn't know the system, but he does know Geno. So that's apparently half the battle. Got a text from Joey Raider 418 in Canada. Hey, Q, Joey Raider here from 418 Canada. First off, huge thanks for everything that you do for the nation. It's truly appreciated. Been listening since day one since you started this project. I haven't missed a single episode. That being said, for Sunday's game, obviously I want to see Genty get as many carries as possible, 20 to 25 minimum. But what I really like to see is Brock going up against Travis Hunter. I think that's where the real mismatch is. It kind of reminds me of when we used to see a Meek versus Kelsey. I think that Brock can really have a big game. What do you think? Joey Raider out. Thanks so much for the text. I appreciate you. And yeah, man, Travis Hunter, he's a dude, right? I don't know how much they're going to play him on defense, and I think that's a mistake. I really do. I think Travis Hunter, and this is just my personal opinion, I think he's a better cornerback than he is a wide receiver. I think that that's his natural position. That's where they should have played him consistently and full time and then let him have a package in wide receiver position. But that's not what they're doing. And Brian Thomas Jr., one, he's banged up. Well, Travis was banged up too. He was on the injury report. But he's been having a case of the drops this year in his second year in the league. So they probably need him more on offense. So I don't know how much he'll be matched up with Brock. But having Brock back, period, is good, especially if Genty gets those 20 to 25 touches that you were talking about. I'm good with that. And I'm good. And as I was talking about, commit to the run, commit to tossing the ball to the running back out of the backfield as well. Genty can get in space and make some guys miss. That's a dangerous, combination right there. So thanks so much for that text. Appreciate it. We'll close out with a call from Epic Flagstaff Raider. He's calling to talk about this week's game and what he believes this game will be for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here he is, Epic Flagstaff Raider.
Yo, Q. This is the Epic Flagstaff Raider up in the 928, playing the Jags this weekend, coming off a 2-game losing streak off their bye. I don't know, man. This just screams their get right game, their beat up game. I'm tired of being that team, man. Every year we are almost every other team in the league's get right game, beat up game every year. And I'm just so tired of watching it, man. This game just has that written all over it for me. And it would just be nice for us to have that every so often, and it doesn't seem like that's ever the case almost every year. I wouldn't even categorize the Titans win as a get right game for us at all. It just doesn't seem like we ever get to have those games, and we're always on the other side every single year. And it's old, man. It's old and hard to watch. So, yeah, hopefully I'm wrong, but this just has that written all over it. So, all right, later on.
Flagstaff, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. And I hate to say that you're wrong. I wish I could say you're wrong with confidence, but I can't, right? It does feel like that game where the opponent gets right? Again, I wish I could say with confidence that that's not going to happen. Nah, no way, man. The Raiders are going to go in there and dominate. This is a very winnable game. They got this. But just like I told Tony Wiggins from Locked On Jags on Thursday, I don't have a lot of confidence in this game because I don't. The Raiders haven't given me a reason to have a lot of confidence, and I don't want to just close my eyes and say, oh, it's the Raiders, so they're going to win. They've only done it twice this year, so I don't have a ton of confidence. This could easily be a get-right game for the Jaguars, but it also could be a get-right game for the Raiders because I don't really know who the Jaguars are at this stage. They started out strong, but they're not strong right now. They're on a 2-game losing streak. There's not really any rhyme or reason to their offense. Their defense is a little suspect. The one thing that they do is create turnovers, right? Devin Lloyd, I think, is going to miss, and he's their leading interceptor, right? He's picked off 4 passes so far from the linebacker position. But outside of that, I think this team could be had. But I'm just not 100% confident that the Raiders are going to have them. And hopefully they don't turn the ball over. If the Raiders turn the ball over a couple times, you might look up and the Jaguars are running away with the game. And then they are that get-right game once again. So Epic Flagstaff Raider, thanks so much for that call. Appreciate it. That's going to do it for today's show. That's going to do it for this week. So Raider Nation, we'll see you at Allegiant Stadium. If you are there, come up to the torch. I'll be there probably until about 20 minutes up until kickoff. I'll be there for a long time actually. So, just come up and say what's up. It'd be great to meet you. I know that there's supposed to be a meet and greet with Vinny Bonsignore, myself, and others there at Chickies and Pete's inside of Sahara, Las Vegas on Saturday. I think starting at 5 o'clock, so we could do that. We also have, like I said, the Raider Squad show coming up later on this morning with Chantel Chan, Lincoln Kennedy, and myself. So a lot of options, Raider Nation. But again, if you're going to the game, I'll see you at the torch at Allegiant Stadium. We'll be back here on Monday. So until then, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.